You got our name straight now.
Bob instead. What did I call you the other day, Bob?
I don't know.
Was it like Bill or something? I think it was Bill.
But yeah. Bob and Maggie. It's actually William, but
Yeah.
don't use it.
Hello, and welcome to Runnah, running on Cape Cod, Massachusetts and beyond. Did I scare you a little bit, Maggie? Oh, I love it. We're here today. I have two very special guests with me. Two, I would say, of the original, the Falmouth Running Then Track Club, or just Falmouth resident favorites, Maggie and Bob Yates. Welcome, guys.
Well,
Hi.
thank you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you guys here. In my head, when I met both of you, I had finally, like when I originally met you, I had finally like gone to the next level of like knowing people in Falmouth, because I feel like you two are just so baked into the running community here. And you can even ask Mike Falcone, and he talked about you guys on the podcast already when he was on last time, on our last episode, and how you got him into running originally. Well, past what he'd been doing already. And getting that little, I'm sorry, it wasn't Mike. Oh, actually, Mike, I think you got Mike and you got Jack Barry in it too.
No, Jack was a
We
runner
got
before.
Jack into it. Is that what?
I think you got him into the running scene here
Yeah, we met him one evening when he first moved here.
at the quarterdeck, correct?
And he said he ran, and I think he was friends with the Pryzaks.
Yeah.
But then we introduced him to Courtney, and the next thing we knew, he was
Doing
volunteering for one of the races. We thought, I always say, for this one particular gentleman who really got running going across the town, the one thing you don't want to say to Courtney Bird is yes.
Yeah.
Never say yes, because you wind up doing all kinds of things.
You're gonna be doing everything.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we should talk about is how you guys got into running. And I know between the two of you, Maggie's the preferred runner, Bob is the preferred support team at this point in time. So, but much needed, you know. Us like more full-time, less full-time support people, more full-time runners. We really appreciate our support people quite a lot, and like, we give you big props, Bob.
Well, I've run with her for years. When I was a support team on marathons, because I didn't run marathons and halves. But how many Falmouth road races did we do together? At least 19 or 20, and you continued on.
At least.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Did you guys start? Now, here, let's just start from the beginning. So, let's start off, Maggie. Let's talk about your foray into running. Like, where did you start running? And then we'll talk about Bob.
I'm trying to think what the year was, but it was back when we lived in Westchester, New York, and my father had a stroke, and I realized I was not getting enough exercise. And then I watched the man next door who would go out every morning, no matter what the weather was. And I said, well, maybe I could do a little what he does. And it started out with a half mile, and then it became a mile, and over the years, it caught on. So
That's awesome.
it is. It was example, role modeling.
Yeah. So you started running after you guys were already married.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I figured that your running career predated, like, you guys even meeting.
No.
No.
She predated me in getting into organized events.
Ah, okay.
But they would have a 1 mile run in town. And, we did that, and we would bike, we would run, just nothing that was sanctioned courses or anything like that. And then one day she decided to go down and see what the New York Marathon was like.
Yeah.
So she went down and volunteered down there.
Oh, that's dangerous,
And
Maggie.
I had nothing to do, so I signed up for a 5K in Connecticut.
Okay.
And I was told, a lot of competition, you're not going to place, don't worry about it. I wound up getting a second place in my age group.
Wow, that's impressive.
But I think the reason I got it is the runners were all down at the marathon. Okay? And I had just turned into a new age group. Hey, you can't get any better than that.
Sometimes you just got to play the card that you're dealt, and sometimes it's a winning card, you know?
Right place at the right time.
Exactly.
But then we started running, most Sundays we drive down, we were about 40 miles north of New York City.
Okay.
And we would drive down to New York and run with the New York Roadrunners.
Fantastic organization.
In Central Park.
In Central Park.
Yeah, and then go out and have breakfast.
I can see where you would fall into love with running through that, just because I've run a bunch with the New York City Roadrunners, and also like with Team for Kids as well too, which is the charity team that I work with. But like if I lived anywhere closer to New York than where we are, I'd be down there all the time with these people. They're so great. What a positive environment it is there. It's so fantastic.
They used to have a lot of creative races.
Yeah.
They'd had a bagel run where you would run whatever the course was that morning, 5 miles something, and then go to the New York Hilton. Tablecloth, white tablecloth, sterling silverware, and bagels. And it was great. I mean, they'd come up with all these crazy ideas. A midnight run on New Year's, stuff like that. They're all fairly normal now, but in those days it was very creative.
Yeah, I think that's so much fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys had a pretty like decent, like pretty non like eventful, but like good and positive introduction into running.
Non-stressful.
Yeah, which I think is definitely really important. And I think kind of makes more sense for me in how I know you guys currently, which is a very positive, like inclusive part of the running community that just wants everyone to feel like they're welcome.
Well, one of the things I noticed, because I had no athletic ability that I knew of at all, and all you had to do was one foot after the other. But I also found that most runners were very accepting of you. If you got out there and tried, speed wasn't important, but if you got out there and did your thing, it was very important to me, very accepting.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the things that people have there's a stigma around runners, and I can see kind of why, just knowing some runners that I do, that we're kind of like uppity and like exclusive, but that sector of runners does exist. Like, go to the Boston Marathon, you will find them. They go there every year. Not to say that there's not nice people at the Boston Marathon too, but that's where you're going to kind of find the upper echelon of the people who are a little bit too full of themselves. But generally speaking, I feel like the running community is very accepting to people.
I think so. If you're not concerned about your place and your time, and I think when you read the race stats, you imagine those people up front are usually running for big dollars. And there's also the people in the back of the pack.
We would run to finish.
I mean, that's what I do too.
No.
I'm just running to finish whenever I'm going. It's more, especially like when you get to the races that are either like a themed race, or you're running with people that you really like running with, or it's like something like when I went to Tokyo last year, we're like, I'm running in the middle of Tokyo. Like, I need to take this in.
What am I doing here?
Yeah, like literally I was like, oh my God. Like, not to mention I was on a 12-hour time difference, so my brain was already kind of just like...
Did you do the Tokyo
Marathon? Yeah, I just did it in March.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
It was really cool.
Good.
Thanks, Maggie.
Yeah. I was able to run the Paris Marathon.
Oh, that's so fun.
And was so pleased with that because I used to teach French.
Uh-huh.
So I had no problem running through postcards. But then came Dublin.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, everything was so neat about Dublin until you got out, kind of out towards past the middle of town. And all the signs were in Gaelic. French I could read, the Place de la, but the
Gaelic was not so much.
So, and then you talk about support team, the end of that race, and of course, slow. Yeah. And yet I got back in to where I was supposed to be, but wasn't quite sure where to go. But then I saw a group of people walk by with their volunteer shirt on.
Ah.
And they went into a variation of Dunkin' Donuts. So I went in after them. I said, "Can you tell me where the finish line is?"
Oh, that's adorable.
Again,
Maggie.
the people that are helpful, and that's one of the things about this community too. Is the people along the way are always cheering you on. And
yeah, I mean, I went out for a run the other morning. When I'm out running, you guys see me, I always get a nice like honk honk, which is nice. But I just had some guy like clap for me as I was running by him. He was walking his dog. He's just like, woo! I was like, but that's happened to me before down here too. Like I remember I was running with someone else like a couple weeks ago, and someone was just out on their porch and they just started clapping and be like, yeah, good job. I was like, okay. Why
I'll
not?
take it.
Yeah, why not?
Take it.
Not doing anything, no big plans today, just to finish this run. But it's nice to be cheered on. But I agree with you guys too. I feel like you guys are great ambassadors of this too, is that we have really amazing volunteers and like support systems here
Absolutely.
For running, which I think is like the thing that makes a running community like flourish, is when the people who are supporting the runners also have just as much enthusiasm as the runners for the community and like putting on the events, like hosting the group runs, just kind of getting people to know each other and being welcoming and like kind when you go and you're running an event and someone's like, oh, the starting line's over there. Makes a big difference. So, and I know you guys are really big proponents of that and pretty much volunteer at almost every single race in town.
There's one guy who can't say no. You know Ed Giordano?
Oh, I know Ed.
Yeah. Ask Ed anything and he'll do it.
He
has done more volunteering
yeah.
than anyone else I know in town here. Really
I have
great.
him on my list of people to get on the show eventually. There's a lot of people specifically that I've met through doing like the races around here or the Cape Cod Marathon that are hidden gems, I will say, of the Falmouth community that are part of that support system that we're talking about, that really just like elevate the whole community in a way that's, I think, really interesting and really needed and appreciated. And it's nice to appreciate, just like I appreciate both of you guys like showing up at every race, whether you're the last person to finish, Maggie, just like bringing up the rear, just making sure that being the mama hen, making sure everyone is like finished up, or it's seeing you guys like at one of the corners when you're running the Liam's race and I just knowing you guys that you're there.
Well, I think, what is it, Troy Clarkson back in the day, he always used to preface his columns with, "Isn't Falmouth nice?" Mm-hmm. And I think the town is nice to start with, and then it just, whatever people get involved in, there's a lot of nice people who will carry on that idea of helping out the next guy.
Yeah.
It's like...
I agree. I moved down here, and you guys obviously moved down here too at some point, but now about 8 years ago, and I love living here. I think we have a fantastic community. Part of the reason I started this podcast too, just because I want to highlight what a really great community that we have, specifically like the running side of it for this podcast specifically. But I think we have a fabulous and really nice community, which helps us a lot.
Yeah.
No.
And it's healthy besides.
Yeah, it's healthy to get out there and be active. And I feel like this is one of the communities. It's funny when I go back home to where I grew up in Auburn, Massachusetts. Usually, if I go out on a run, I'll see like maybe one person walking. Never anyone else running, maybe one person out walking. I go out for a run out here. It's 4 a.m., there's like 20 people outside. 5 a.m., there's like 20 people outside. 8 a.m., there's like 70 or up to like 200 people just outside. Like just walking, just walking their dog. People here just like being outside and being active.
Yeah, and it's a nice place to run.
Yeah. Now, when did you guys move down here originally?
We were living in this town in New York State, and this couple we were friendly with moved up near Syracuse, and then one day I got a phone call from my friend, and she said, "We're moving to Falmouth." I thought, "Oh, where is that?" So we started to come visit them, and then we decided it was time for us to move to the Cape too. And when I first moved here, I said to one of the realty people, "Do people run in Falmouth?" And then she said, "Yeah, every Friday night. I know there's a race on Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
Friday Night 5 with Ken Gardner." And it just, it just went from there. And then I said, "You meet all kinds of people." And
yeah, so is that where you guys...
They run, but they have another little...
like pocket of running people that you get to know?
Yep, yep. So we came.
That's awesome. Now, is that how you guys initially got involved with the Falmouth Running, well, then track club, now running club, was through the Friday 5?
Through the Friday 5.
Yeah, that was a standard. Every Friday night.
It still is a standard.
You felt bad if you missed one.
Yeah. Yeah, well, can't leave Ken Gardner standing there in the snow or the sleet or whatever he's running in by himself.
We were in the quarterdeck one night, and the door opened, and these people came in, and they were covered
with snow.
Yeah, beards, their hair. That was all. Friday Night 5s decided they deserved a treat after running, so it was good.
I would say so. I've run some pretty like snowy, nasty runs, and I'm sure you guys have too, where you get back and you're like, it's hot chocolate time or hot toddy time.
The other thing about running is you don't have to stop unless you really have physical problems. But if you kind of downgrade it, so to speak, like right now, I top out somewhere about a mile, okay? But just this past January, she had a significant birthday.
Yeah.
And Mom, what do you want for your birthday? She said, "I want the whole family to run a 5K. And off we went up to Lexington. 23 degrees, ice on the course.
Sounds perfect.
Aged from 11 to 88, the whole family. Off we went.
I love it.
It was great.
That's one of those things where, like, you're going to have fun if you're going to do something like that. And you're going to have stories afterwards, too. Stories to tell everyone. Yeah. I mean, that's what I love about running, too, is that, like, if you're not focused on, like, pace, there are some people who, like, they just take pace too seriously, and you need to just relax a little bit. And also kind of, like, just accept where your body is right now and, like, what you can do. But, like, anyone can, like, you can walk, run. You can run. You can do some format of moving that's going to get you up there and get you out there and let you connect with the other people who are out there running, too, which I think is super important.
Or there's people that, I know there's at least 2 people, I only saw them running. I've never seen them again.
Okay.
I mean, it's only when we run, and every now and then you say, "I wonder if that guy's still running at that hour."
Yeah. It is funny what you think about, too, when you run, like, certain paths or certain roads. Like, typically, I know when I haven't seen someone for a little while. I saw one of my favorite people, and again, I don't know his name, but he runs out here. Well, I saw you that one morning, Maggie. That was very nice. But he's this smaller, older gentleman with the biggest smile on his face, and he always wears this little backpack when he's running, and he comes somewhere from the Falmouth Heights area, and I see him, but every time I pass him, he smiles huge at me, and we high-five as we go by, and it just makes my day.
Well, we found the perfect path.
Oh, okay.
We, as I say, I don't run much anymore. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I run about 3 or 4 days a week.
Honestly, Bob, that's more than most people.
But the incentive is we go to Coffee O every morning.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I run down, and she runs home. I run down, she meets me with the car, we have coffee,
and then you
plan the day, what have you, and then reverse.
I think that's a good strategy.
It works for us.
Yeah, I think that's a fair trade-off. Pretty even, pretty equal, you know. And you get to go to Coffee O.
A built-in system.
Yeah. What do you usually get at Coffee O? What do you guys usually get?
Coffee.
Just the regular.
Scone.
Ooh, a scone.
When
that's good.
the Friday race first started, it went through a variety of names. It was, and at one point it was the Coffee O.
Yeah.
And then it became the quarterdeck. And then it finally just became
the Friday 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know.
That's a Falmouth institution right there.
It is.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and my sister has no understanding at all of why I run.
So my family doesn't understand either.
You should stop running. And to try to explain to her that at a certain point, you're running for exercise, but you're really running just to sort things out. And, you know, and it's like, it's a good thing. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, another runner, and he was saying, well, they say that the first part of your run is exercise. The rest of it is all thinking things out. And I was fortunate enough to be the librarian at Mullenhall School. And there were 2 buildings. And the library was in the hall building, which they decided to take down. We had to move the library from that building across the way to the hall. And so the internet was already there. So you Googled, you know, how to move a library. And I got a couple of ideas. And when it was, the move was all done and we were in the Mullen building, the principal said to me, how did you do that? How did you pull that off? And I said, well, I read a lot, but then Sunday mornings on Surf Drive,
you were thinking about it.
I was planning on moving that library.
Yep.
And a lot of fellow runners came in and helped pack up the books.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
She was also or is a major influence on our children. We have 3 sons, 2 of whom have run marathons. One runs crazy marathons.
Oh, he's like an ultra marathon runner?
Yeah, not ultra, but
like the Spartan races?
Run all the beaches out on the Outer Cape.
Oh, okay.
On the sand.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Leave a bar at 1 o'clock in the morning in the Bronx. Run down through Times Square to Coney Island.
Oh, Christ. This is someone who very much so loves adrenaline rushes.
She has the 3 of them running, and now my daughter-in-law also runs, and I'm proud to say both the grandchildren and they're twins, 12 years old. But my grandson is running track at school.
That's awesome.
And he's got some good times on the 5K.
Yeah.
So.
That's fantastic.
He ran a road race this year, too.
Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, not the road race.
Falmouth
in the fall, yeah.
Still a very fun race.
It's just, you know, you just...
You lead by example.
Well, that's, I think, the basic thing. And, you know, if you don't keep pushing something, they see what you are doing. One of my sons, when he was in junior high, I used to get his lunch ready because he'd leave before everybody else. And one morning I was in a grumpy mood. He said, "You didn't run this morning, did you?" I could tell because I was so grumpy.
Yeah.
You're right, I didn't. So.
Yeah. Us runners, we need our time to get like some exercise in, but then again, like sort through our brains a little bit while we're out there. I know, like, too, like, especially during the winter, I'll end up being on the treadmill sometimes for my runs because it's just unsafe to go outside with the ice sometimes. Yeah. And I'll, like, watch a TV show. And then I realized at the end, I didn't think about my thoughts the whole time. So I needed to, like, and then I just end up, like, walking around being like, okay, what do we got to think about now, Juliana?
Mind time.
Yeah, you need that mind time to kind of, like, sort through what's going on. I think it's really important. But it's great that you guys are also like leading by example to your kids and your grandkids. And they're seeing like, oh, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, they're still out here being active and enjoying it too. Because every time I see you guys at an event, you're always having the best time. Always having the best time.
Well, sometimes you're glad to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you're just having too much fun.
You know, you mentioned the support team earlier.
Yeah.
If I count my marathons as support team.
We'll count them.
The best was Paris.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Paris Marathon then, because I think this is one of your favorite marathons too, Maggie, correct? Yeah.
No, she had the attachment from being a French teacher. Uh-huh. But I met her at mile 13. The Paris Marathon is a little less organized than most of them.
Yeah.
I met her at mile 13, gave her a hug, said, good luck, I'll see you at the finish line. And I went over to a cafe, and I had an omelet and pommes frites, a glass of wine, and then took the metro to the finish line. She made me take her back again a year later or 2 years later to the same cafe.
Uh-huh. Did not run that.
So there's more to running than running.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When I finished my first marathon, the first thing I got from my siblings was because they saw me at a bunch of different spots. They were telling me about the pancakes they got at Betsy's down the street. Because they don't live around here, so they were like going and getting giant pancakes from Betsy's, you know. So yeah, it's more than just the race.
Yeah.
And like when I go places and I run races, like if I was going to go to the Paris Marathon, you like to like spend some time around the race, like doing things and like indulging in whatever the culture is, getting a baguette, getting some coffee, getting a nice drink.
That same marathon, my oldest son, kind of a surprised spectator. I knew he had come the day before, but so anyhow, I'm running down the Rue de Rivoli, and I look over and I see Bob, and my son is with him.
Oh.
But it was before Paris got into Go Cups.
Oh.
And where they were having coffee, the guy let them go out with their porcelain cups and saucers.
Oh my God, that's
too
funny.
They were standing there waiting for
just like. That's pretty funny. I love that.
Yeah,
It's those memories you take away from the races too. It's not just like running the race is great and you have like memories from that, but it's the memories that happen in between the steps that really like I think cement their place in your brain and make it a special event. Would you say the Paris Marathon has been your favorite race that you guys have been to, or do you have any other races that have really stood out? Or running events that you've been to?
The son who runs the crazy marathons, at one point, he and his wife were living in Liverpool.
Okay.
Ring, ring. Hey, Ma, you want to run a half marathon in Liverpool? Okay. When did we get there? You know, that's the thing. It's like, you know.
The funny thing about that one, though, once again, being the support team, I decided the announcer on the PA system was in a trailer. And I said, I'll be right back. So I went over to the trailer and I said, you know, I just want you to know that we have a runner here from Falmouth. He says, oh, from Falmouth, have you? And I said, yes, but it's Falmouth, Massachusetts. Oh, from the United States.
Yeah.
Fine. Maybe I'll make a word about her. So I go back. Next thing you hear in the PA, and we have an elite runner here from the United States, from Falmouth. She's like this. But we have fun.
I love it.
We have fun.
Yeah.
Of course, the first marathon is always one of your best, and mine was New York.
It's hard to top New York, Maggie. I've run New York, and like that's been like optics wise, like we'll put the Cape Cod Marathon to the side for a second because we know I'm very biased about that. So besides the Cape Cod Marathon, New York has been my favorite marathon that I've run because it's just a giant block party the entire way. It's so fun.
Oh, except for the bridge.
Yeah, except for the bridge. Yeah, right after the halfway point where everyone's
59th Street Bridge is so quiet. Yeah. And the first time there, I heard clop clop, and there was a guy coming up behind me, and we were noticing how quiet the bridge was. So and we started talking, and one of us said, you know, I think tomorrow morning I'm just going to quit my job. I'm not going to keep doing all this.
Okay, yeah, sure,
so
why
I
not?
said, yeah, that's an idea. So I'm still wondering
if he quit his job.
Quit his job.
And what year did you run New York City the first time?
Pardon?
What year was this, Maggie?
That was my first time running New York City.
And what year was that?
I think it was 97.
Okay, so this gentleman is probably like, how old would you say he was?
We were probably around the same age.
Oh, okay.
So, but then when you come off that bridge and you go up First Avenue, it's St. Patrick's Day all over again in November. Just
so loud.
Well, the foot of the bridge is considered the best cheering spot in the marathon, and part of it, the cacophony of it is there's a water stop there.
Oh, right after that bridge in New York.
Cups all over the street. They can't clear them all fast enough. Okay. Yeah. And you hear the runners going through and you're clop, clop, clop.
Yeah. I remember when I ran New York, so I ran it last year, in 2023. And at that point, it actually had the world record for the most number of people running a marathon at once. There were like 52,000 people running.
Wow.
Which is so many. And I will tell you what, it felt like that. There were so many people. Like if there had been cups on the ground, which I know I clompity-clomped over a bunch of them, no one was able to clear them off because there were just so many people. So it was wild. I had the best time though.
Oh yeah.
I feel like New York's a really great first marathon though. If I was gonna rank the bigger marathons as like which one I would go to first if I was my first one ever, definitely New York.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, it starts where I grew up. Yeah. You run down that 4th Avenue and I could just about tell you every single street, what was there, what was there, what was there. And it's, and then you go, suddenly we were in Queens and my son lived there. And just,
Yeah, it has sentimental value.
Much to it.
Yeah.
One of the funny things about that, she was talking about 4th Avenue. One of our sons had come into town from college to see her run. And he, 4th Avenue and probably 38th Street or somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. This is in Brooklyn. He comes up out of the subway just as she's running by.
Wow, that's perfect timing right there.
Gets a hug. Good luck, good luck. Goes back down the subway and goes back to school.
I mean, that's perfect timing right there. You can't do it any better.
This is the guy who runs from the Bronx to Coney Island.
Okay. So he's kind of like worked on his timing more or less a little bit, maybe.
One of my sons has not run a marathon. Mm-hmm. But he runs a lot. And for him, he knows the value of the exercise plus. Yeah. But anyhow, he has since moved to Mexico City.
Oh, okay.
And the first morning he was out for a run, he just saw all these people. And when he got closer, he realized it was the Mexico City Marathon.
Oh.
So I said, so you see, Bill, there's a chance for you to still run one.
You could run a marathon.
We did run a marathon.
Yeah.
Another trip to Paris. We didn't plan on it, but it coincided with the Paris Marathon.
Oh, okay.
So we went over to the expo.
Yeah.
And
might as well.
They were having a 5K breakfast run.
Oh, there you go.
Signed up.
Yeah, there you go.
Took off. It was a beautiful run right along the river. And you get to the end, and they gave you a paper cup of coffee and a croissant.
I mean, nothing's more French than that, Nothing is more French than that.
Good times.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
I love that. I remember, just to go back on New York a little bit too. When I ran New York, obviously Mike Falcone is one of my running buddies. He actually sent me the email that you sent him about growing up in New York. He kept it this whole time. Mike Falcone.
Oh, Mike, I'm sorry.
Mike Falcone.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Falcone.
Yeah. He sent me that email that you sent him of all the different landmarks that you pass if you're running New York City Marathon as Maggie Yates, and the things that you would notice if you were Maggie Yates running through New York City.
Well, what was interesting, maybe a year or so ago, there was a guy on one of the trains with a gun.
Oh.
And everybody really and when the train stopped, they all got out as quick as they could, and I guess the cops went in and got the guy.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we were hearing about it, and of course we identified with it. But we have several people from here have run New York, and I always tell them, you ran right past that subway station.
Where the guy with the gun was?
36th Street and 4th Avenue.
Yeah, I guess I ran by it too. I didn't realize that.
I ran by it too, you know. It's like,
yeah.
Well, you know, Bob also got good, you know, being the support team for other people who were going down, because he would tell them how to get around to the different points at which you could watch.
Oh, so you were
runner doing that, remember?
The support team for the support teams.
There you go.
Telling people, that's really important too. Like what we've seen, especially with the Cape Cod Marathon, just recently we started doing like a spectator guide, like as part of the map. So that way people knew where they can go. But it's really important, and it's a big question that everyone has. It's something that, because it's not like officially owned by, like, the spectators are not the responsibility of the race because they haven't signed a waiver or anything. So like legally they don't really care as much as they do about the spectators and the runners. But it's something that's like, it's a big question when you come to a race. Like, how do I spectate it? I want to watch my people, you know?
Well, the app to track your runner is great.
Oh, the New York City one,
you know, you look at a spot, has he or she passed there yet? If not, how far away are they? Can I get there in time? You can make these decisions in real time now, because you know exactly where your runner is.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Which is something you didn't have originally, Bob.
No.
At all.
No. You hope for the best.
Yeah, you just kind of got to hope that Maggie's plan sticks to plan.
Well, let's see. If she runs, 6-minute miles, blah, blah, it should be here then.
Yeah, I'm sure Maggie's banging out 6-minute miles all the time now, right, Maggie? Yeah, easily. She's like, I do that on my easy day.
I'm sorry. When the grandson decided he was going to run Falmouth in the fall, his parents decided they would too.
Oh, that's fun.
And I'm trying to think if I know his mom had run the Falmouth Road Race, and I'm not sure, but Mark can do. He could run that distance backwards, I think.
Yeah.
But anyhow, those three were going to run, but Hannah got the app.
Oh, okay,
and so she was able to tell us they're coming. They're at Elm Road. They'll be here soon.
I find it really helpful.
She got very involved in the whole
spectating,
spectating, and then cheering for the.
Maybe the next heir for you, Bob. Pass it on to her. She can be the pro spectator once you decide to retire your cap. If you ever get to that point, you don't have to. I feel like spectating is like. And volunteering is one of those things that you can, like, no matter like what your like physical capacity is, you can usually find some way to be a part of it. Whether it's like standing at the corner, like being a courts marshal, or you're like sitting behind a table handing out numbers. There's always something that needs to be done. That
it is amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
All the bits and pieces that go into it.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to see the interworkings of the Cape Cod Marathon. Because that was my first time being part of the race, that I actually saw like the interworkings behind a race, and actually thought outside my own head of like, oh yeah, if I need a water stop like at mile 12, people have to coordinate getting the water there. Like it's a conversation that people have, But now, have you guys always just volunteered at races? Is that something you kind of took up when you started in New York?
We didn't volunteer in New York.
Okay.
And part of it is
I did.
we were not local, if you will. We were 40 miles away from the city.
So volunteering was a little bit more challenging.
We went down to the Roadrunner City organized events. So it'd be very difficult for us to be part of the volunteer group.
Yeah, on a regular basis.
Because, living 40 miles away.
Yeah, but, that's fair.
Up here, it was just very easy. The best was what used to be called the Main Street Mile.
Oh yeah, it's now the Surf Drive Mile.
Yeah, it would come down Main Street and make a right-hand turn at Ben and Bill's
and then
ice
bang
cream
it out
store.
to the Surf Dive Beach House.
And our volunteer spot was right outside Ben and Bill's.
That's a good volunteer spot.
And they have a bench there. So we would just sit there eating ice cream until we heard the cannon go off in the town green. And then we'd, get up, and we knew they're coming down the street.
Yeah, the maximum time that whole event lasts is like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like after like 20 minutes, most people are done, majority. So that's fun. I think it's definitely good to point out just like how you can volunteer. I saw you going to say something though, Maggie, about volunteering in New York.
I did. One year I volunteered down there. It was before I ran it.
Oh, okay.
And
for the marathon?
We wound up for the marathon. They put us on right outside the Museum of Natural History.
Ooh, fancy.
And
Animals.
I'm not sure what all the logistics were, but they gave you the classic plastic raincoat to wear, but they also fed you. And they were bologna sandwiches.
Not quite. I feel like the Museum of Natural History set like a high standard. The bologna sandwiches, not so much.
Well, bologna,
Bologna's like hit or miss.
Somehow after that, the buses came in from Staten Island, and the race, I don't know if it was the same finish line.
It was a little bit different.
I think it was it Tavern on the Green or something like that.
Anyhow,
we wound up going with the buses to wherever the finish line was.
Okay.
And we were there for a while, and these guys showed up. And they were we were concerned as to who these guys were.
Okay, suspicious.
And they got on the bus, and there were all these runners things there.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, what do we do? Blah, 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 kind of those city
strategizing.
So they came out and they said, we have an idea, because they warned us, if the runners get on the bus, don't let them sit down. Let them just grab their bag and make sure they get off, and sure enough, when they started to come in, there was one guy who fell asleep. He just sat down with his bag, and that was it. So, but these shady-looking guys had a great idea. They said, let's take everything off the bus and line it up alongside the bus, so when the runners come, they won't get on at all. And it worked out just fine.
Okay, yeah, why not?
It was just one of those, like I said, you put your city sense in.
Yeah, something is slightly off. You can't really place exactly what it is, but you just gotta be vigilant. Here on these streets. Well, I think that's exciting. I think that's fun. I definitely have volunteering at a New York City road race, road runners event on my bucket list, because I haven't done that yet, and they have a great reputation. But do you guys remember the first thing you volunteered at here in town in Falmouth?
First year we joined the track group, the running group.
I think it was number handout. We went up to the expo.
The first year we volunteered, I was a course monitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Brian Schachter was...
the race.
For the road race?
Yeah, he was in charge of the course directors, or course monitor, I guess is the term. And I remember going in, and I didn't know anybody, and Brian was in the front of the room explaining all the duties in that. And as they say, the rest was history. Courtney came up one day after the marathon, or before the marathon, rather. He said, Bob, you want to get some music for the marathon?
Oh, okay.
I'm still doing it. I don't have as many resources as I used to have then, but it was funny. Excuse me. The day before the marathon, we had to climb on the roof of Pie in the Sky to string a wire for the band to plug into.
Oh, God. Yeah. I think that's something that I think we should definitely talk about, is how you've kind of cemented yourself as the on-course entertainment person for the Cape Cod Marathon, Bob.
Yes, but
it sounds like Courtney kind of started
the entertainment has shrunk up. It's very difficult to get volunteers to play without paying them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, you know.
And I had been working at Mullen a while, and now there were kids who were students at Mullen who had moved on to Lawrence and the high school. And suddenly we picked up on that guy, he has a band. It's a jazz band.
Oh, okay.
Hey, can you volunteer? Well, does it pay? No. But we said everybody would be very glad, so they wound up at Dana's Kitchen.
Oh, okay. Yep,
time.
On the old course.
And
yep.
it just was so much fun just looking around, just collecting kids I knew way back when they were little.
Just playing the Cape Cod Marathon.
They were all part of the jazz band.
Oh, okay.
And people who are into jazz are into jazz, the way runners get into running.
Yeah.
And these guys, they just click together. And Dana, who ran the restaurant up there, says, can you bring those guys back next year? Because the patrons would be driving by, because the course was open. And they'd hear the music and see, let's get a cup of coffee in here, let's get a sandwich or something. So it promoted their business as well.
Yeah. So the first bit of music we had on the course was this jazz band that was kind of created. And how did it turn into like what it became and kind of what it is now? I know now it's like a little bit more pared down than what it had been. But obviously kind of you did other things beyond the jazz band. What happened after the jazz band was formed?
We had rock bands. We had a fiddle player and a banjo player. We had Falmouth Fiddlers. Have been doing it almost every year. Brass Ring.
What's the band that used to be at the CVS, where up in like towards North Falmouth, like when you came around the corner, where there's that four-way?
Oh, on Route 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Falmouth Fiddlers.
That's the Fiddlers. Okay.
Yeah,
They live in my. There are a few things that I remember from my first marathon that I ran, which was on the old course here at Cape Cod. Yeah. And I very distinctly remember them being there at that CVS playing music. And then there's also a woman who was down towards like the Woods Hole side of things who was wearing a blue wig jumping on a pogo stick. I remember her too. But I don't think she was playing an instrument.
Yeah. What was her name again?
Cheryl. Cheryl Atherton.
Oh yeah, Cheryl Atherton. And she is also a part-time DJ.
Oh, okay.
This woman, this is no lie now, she calls me up usually around January sometime.
Oh, she's our dedicated volunteer.
What day is the marathon next year? I want to put it in my calendar. She is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've got some fairly regulars right now, but it's difficult to develop new talent. A little easier when she was in the school because we could tap the music teachers and stuff like that.
And pull from people.
Yeah.
I think that if anyone here is watching our show and knows someone in Falmouth or is someone who'd like to volunteer with the marathon playing music, we would love to have you.
Amen.
Yeah. You can send me an email and I'll let Bob know if you want to do that. So reach out.
It's good fun.
Yeah. And it's a good way to be part of like a really like fun event too.
Yeah.
It's also a good way to test your chops.
There you go. Yeah. If you're thinking about doing some open mics or something, or you want to see if you've got game, it's a good way to come out there and test it out. If you can get the runners distracted and also involved in what you're doing, you could probably take that show on the road.
And the best thing is if you make a mistake, the runners don't hear it.
No, they don't.
They hear the noise and they get a little hyped up.
And when I run, I'm just so grateful that somebody is taking their time to do those kinds of things.
The best you were talking about best races. One we didn't mention was the Boilermaker.
Oh, Jack is a big Boilermaker fan.
Yeah, that's a fun race. But what I remembered, I did the 5K and she did the 15K. Mm-hmm. They had a line, and it must have been 50 or more groups out there with drum kits.
Oh, okay.
The bass, the cymbal, the temper, and they were just lined up one after the other. And you would be running for, depending upon your speed, anywhere from 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds on up to over a minute. They were lined up on the road, and it was probably, it wasn't a quarter mile, but it seemed like it.
It was pretty fair few number of drums.
I wanted to get them to Falmouth, but I couldn't all make it.
Oh, that would have been so fun. Yeah. Things like, I think that's something that right now with the Cape Cod Marathon, we're just, every year we're just like evolving a little bit more, and definitely falling into our course that we have now, getting more used to it, like where we can put people, like where you want to put musicians. So I think this is a really great time to like, one, make a call out to anyone who's watching to let them know that if they want to volunteer playing music, they can. But kind of maybe think about things like that like we want to source out to the schools, you know.
It's also difficult to find people with the new course. With the old course, we had a lot of wooded areas. We could plug in electricity up on
judge people's houses and stuff. Yeah.
But now it's in neighborhoods, and you know, would you like a jazz band on your lawn for 3 hours on Sunday?
I mean, if you asked me that, I would probably say yes. But I do enjoy jazz music, and I'm a big fan of the Cape Cod Marathon. So you know, I would say yes. But unfortunately, I don't have my own lawn to put it on.
You know, it's like a world that has so many facets to it. You know, you think about. So you see somebody running down the street, and if they have a number on it, you figure it's a race. Well, then there's organizing it, then there's the volunteers, then there's the people who make it happen.
Yeah,
you know,
she handed out rack cards in Paris one year.
Oh yes, I've been victim to Maggie handing out rack cards.
Well, actually, what we had Jack's business card. You know, and we went to the expo, and I was going around saying, "Nous avons un marathon à Cape Cod aussi." And they'd look at me and say, "Oui." You know, I think somebody.
I love it.
They might have had a couple of people from France run it.
So we have at least, every state but Wisconsin this year had someone representing them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we had at least like 7 or 8 other countries that people came from, and that's including Hawaii and Alaska too.
Good.
So it was either Wisconsin or Wyoming. It actually might have been Wyoming, but there's one state that we didn't have a person from this year. So
just Wisconsin. That's funny.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is, but we got to get everyone, you know. But it is
the
like
50-state marathon.
Yeah, people do that. They've actually been using Cape Cod a lot for that. I think just because it's such a pretty course, and you can kind of turn it into a nice little vacation because it's Indigenous Peoples Weekend now too.
Oh.
So
you hear that a lot from people after the races. Not to brag about it, because I really feel like it's.
You can brag here, Maggie.
It's just
we're Cape Cod Marathon fans here.
I was up in Boston one year, and I watched a group that comes down apparently every year to wait for the last runners.
Yes.
And that kind of got into my head.
Yes.
And so I decided, a self-appointed waiting for the last runner person. And then Chris Thulke came along, and she did it with me. And it was the old course, so we were down by the bank just waiting and waiting. Then he would bring chairs down for us.
Just waiting.
And over the years, and then Carolyn Bird really thought it was great, so she managed to keep the clock going. And she would send over medals for the people.
Yeah.
And it just got to be a good thing, and I still like to do it.
Yeah, and we did it this year.
Sunday,
we did it last year, too,
at
together.
Mullen Hall. And it used to be me and Chris, and then now...
You got a whole crew.
How many did we have that year? We had 5 people.
Yeah, this year we had Ryan, me, you, Bob. Nicole was there. And then
the psychic team?
Yeah, she's our psychic team person. Yeah, I think you'll be excited to learn that Nicole is kind of like real, and I am really into like the final finisher, like waiting for the last person. And so we're hoping this year we can bring the PA system that the Falmouth Running Club owns, so we can keep announcing names when they cross and playing music for them, and maybe get some like lights or something that we can have, and also have like a kit that has like electrolytes and like a blanket and like all this stuff. But kind of build it out, you know. I think she's going to bring her cycling team members back too, and hopefully we can eventually, if not this year, maybe next year, invite people who are still in town to maybe come back and cheer for people.
Yeah, it's such an accomplishment.
It is,
you know, when you do it, you're so pleased with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
That's why, like, when I'm announcing the finish line, if it's the first person or it's the last person, they get the same level of enthusiasm from me, because like it's
You've been there, you've done that.
Yeah, I do. I put myself through that like twice a year at a minimum, Maggie. And I know how hard it is to get out there and do that and finish it. Like how proud you feel of yourself, and like how like not everyone goes home and has a family, one at all, or who's gonna like congratulate them, And it's nice to feel like you did something big and you're killing it out there, and we're proud of you. And I think you guys both, as part of the running community, really embody that too. That acceptance and that like feeling of like you did something hard and we're proud of you.
Yeah, well, and the reason I think is so many people in the running community here have either done that or something similar.
Yeah.
So there's that.
They know that
camaraderie
feeling
there.
Yeah. You know what it is to work hard for something, and then hopefully accomplish that goal and be proud of yourself for doing it, no matter how it took you to get there. Sometimes it's pretty and sometimes it's not.
But that too.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I really love that you guys kind of like started that final finisher, like last person, waiting for the last person at the Cape Cod Marathon. And I'm hoping we can kind of build it up, like I said, over the next couple of years. Nicole's definitely behind it. I'm grading down on Jack. Jack is a little ambivalent about it, but usually I get my way.
Well, in the beginning, there were people who, because they didn't want to broadcast to runners, somebody will wait for you,
Yeah.
So that they would, one year I went and complained to Courtney afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, because apparently these people, they were a bunch of guys and they must have had some alcohol with them, because when they finally came in, they were all tipsy. And that just got me so angry, because I thought it was so disrespectful of the whole race.
Yeah.
All that went into it and stuff. So,
yeah.
But that was, there was just some, most people are just, and it used to be in the old course too, as they come down Walker. And you kind of had people who would walk down and come back and say, he just turned the corner, he's going there. So the spotters.
Yeah. We had a good spotter this year, too, who kept going out on, I think, was it Chris? Who's the gentleman who was with us? But he just kept going out on the course for us, which was super nice of him to do that. And I know I got a bunch of messages after the fact from the people who finished. Not the final finisher guy. He was his own wild being this year. That guy was just a very interesting story.
He was something else.
Yeah. What an interesting story. I think Ryan said, because Ryan was the one who ended up taking him back to his car and doing like a tour de Falmouth pretty much with this guy, because he didn't know where he left his car. And he didn't have his phone on him. And so
good for you.
Yeah, I wasn't with it. Ryan was with him. And so I guess they eventually found his car and he drove back home. But the guy said he signed up, I think his longest run before that was like 6 miles or something like that.
I ran 6 miles yesterday.
Yeah, and that's how we prepared.
To each his own.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But he finished, and he got a medal, and they're waiting for him, Standing true to our word over here. But I'm really hoping, that going into the next couple of years, we can kind of have like a little bit more like support around it, and just make it even better for the runners. Because like I was saying, I had a few of the runners reach out to me afterwards, like through our social media and things like that, and they were so thankful. Like they reached out to me and they were like, "You guys made my day." Like just being there, cheering for me coming through, even though like clearly it was past like the time limit for the race. I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. Like, we'll wait for you. Like, we're here. We want to make sure everyone understands.
Once again, you did it.
You did it. Yeah.
It's like, that's the important part. You accomplished.
Yeah.
What you set out to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You did something big today. And we're proud of you. That's why we're here, But, okay. Well, I think that mostly wraps up our conversation about, like, you guys being involved in the running community.
And more we talked, the more things you thought about.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, knowing both of you, I had no doubt that we were going to fill plenty of time. I knew we were going to get plenty of stories. I wasn't worried. Wasn't a concern at all for me. But
I think one of the things, when things changed, you know, I'm trying to think, the track club,
into the running,
the change and the, you know, the different people in the track club changed, and then it moved on to become the running club and stuff. But the marathon was consistent. It went through both groups, and the groups that got it started really set up the whole idea of, you know, helping out and getting runners out there. And the newer folks are picking right up on that and adding to it. And it's just, it's running. Falmouth has embraced running in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love living down here, and anytime I go anywhere else, it's like New York City's kind of an exception. Some of your biggest cities are a little bit of an exception. Yeah. But like any like smaller town you go to, you're never going to find this many runners like just running around doing their thing. And it's such a supportive community too. Like I said, random people just cheering you on from their porches just because they can. Because it's like a random like Tuesday morning, you know. But I really love living down here. And I'm really thankful that you guys are part of the community down here too.
We're a small part of the whole group that keep going.
Yeah, but you're a meaningful part, though. I feel like you two are like kind of like the heart and soul a lot. Like, if I was gonna put like a couple of people at the middle of the running community here, you would be in the middle. Courtney Bird we probably have to throw in there too, you know, just for good measure. But
but seriously, what's the one of the founding fathers?
Yeah, of running in Falmouth.
Yeah.
And someone you don't want to get stuck with at the end of the night because you're never going to leave the bar because Courtney doesn't know how to shut up. So,
night, Courtney.
Bye, Courtney.
I don't know.
He's a good guy, though. We like him. We'll get him on the show eventually.
Very giving. That's a good idea.
Yeah, he'll be on. Anyone who's like anyone in the Falmouth running scene is going to be on here, hopefully, if they want to. But, okay. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to leave anyone with? Any like tips, any last thoughts, sentiments, things that you want to convey to people?
Just set a goal for yourself and just work towards the goal. You're not going to run a marathon in a week.
Unless you're that last guy who finished Cape Cod Marathon.
You look at that and you say, I'm moving along and I've accomplished, and you know, and I think that's the important thing. That you go places now and you see the stickers, be kind. Well, runners should also be kind, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Did you want to add to that, Bob?
Just have a good time.
That is the best advice I think I've heard all day. Just have a good time, enjoy it, have fun. That's it. Got it. We're only here. Running is fun. I always tell people too, I'm never going to be the fastest runner out there, but I can always be the one having the most fun, regardless of what pace I'm running.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, you know, I made it a challenge for myself. Every major race, any race that I run that has like people taking pictures at it, I have a picture of like I call my goofy pictures of me like jumping or like making a funny face. So you know, you want to come away with at least one good memory.
There you go.
Be silly for a second there. Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you guys were able to come on.
Thanks for having us.
Inviting us.
Yeah. And thank you guys for listening and watching the show. And make sure to tune in for our next episode of Runner. Make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube or your podcasting platform of choice. And we will see you next time on Runnah. That's the end. And then we'll quit it. You guys did great. Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at RunnahPod. And you can send us an email at runnahpod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.